Good afternoon. My name is Ben Zong, and I'm the Online Communications Manager for the California Fuel Cell Partnership. With me today are my colleagues Keith Malone, who handles Public Affairs, and Dave Park, who handles Industry Affairs with the California Fuel Cell Partnership. Today's webinar is a general overview of the California Hydrogen Network. If you have any technical questions or if you're part of the media, please contact us for more information. The webinar is going to be recorded. The recording as well as the slides will be posted next week. During the webinar, everyone's going to be muted. However, we will have a Q&A session at the end. And so if you have any questions for the panelists, please use the GoToWebinar tool questions feature to ask some questions. At the Fuel Cell Partnership, we're a collaboration of industry and government organizations, and we work to bring organizations together to work on expanding the market for hydrogen fuel cell technology, as well as to create a future. We currently have a little bit over 60 members. If your organization is interested in joining, please contact us and we can discuss how we can move hydrogen fuel cell technology forward. With that, I'm going to pass it off to Keith.
So as you probably saw from the last slide, it is incredibly difficult now to include all of those logos because we've been, along with the acceleration in hydrogen over the last several years, so has our membership. And today we just wanted to kind of highlight some of our newest members, including to the left, AW, which is Air Water America. You may recognize their subsidiary here in the US, Taylor Horton, and they are a leading provider of cryogenic gases, including liquid hydrogen storage and distribution equipment. Also, we have our new member, Hyzon, which is a global supplier of zero-emission hydrogen fuel cell-powered commercial vehicles, including heavy-duty trucks, buses, and coaches. Some of you may have recently seen that they just delivered their first truck to their first U.S. customer, which is, I believe, I'm trying to remember the name now, I've got it here, to Total Transportation Services, which works out of the LA and Long Beach area ports. In addition, our other member, Phillips 66, some of you may know them from gas stations around the country, but they are much more than that. They are a diversified energy company. They are known for, most recently, they are very active in Europe when it comes to hydrogen. And in fact, they announced along with another company, H2 Energy Europe, to develop a hydrogen fueling network in Germany, Austria, and Denmark. And so all of these companies, we're also proud to welcome also our other members, Element Markets, Choshu Nikizo, Shasta Regional Transportation Agency, Way, as well as Woodside. All of them reflecting very different sort of aspects of the whole hydrogen equation. And it really speaks to the fact that hydrogen is expanding from expanding rapidly, including many more organizations. Ben, let's go to the next slide about the Hydrogen Village. So some of you may have already seen in the emails we've been sending out. On Wednesday, we're going to be hosting a Hydrogen Village at the California State Capitol in Sacramento. This is going to be the largest showcase of fuel cell vehicles and related products we've seen here. As part of this week, obviously today we have the quarterly webinars, we like to call it, as well as tomorrow we have all day long, we have 4 hydrogen briefings covering light duty cars, heavy duty trucks, as well as hydrogen production, and in addition to stationary fuel cells and power generation. So I encourage you to look at those. If you're not familiar with them, go on to our events page. You can sign up via that. But this Wednesday, it really looks like we're going to have some really interesting showcase vehicles, including at least, I think, 5 to 6 hydrogen trucks. AC Transit's going to be there with their fuel cell bus, Plug Power with a fuel cell forklift. We're also going to have Honda, Hyundai, and Toyota with their fuel cell cars, in addition to Hyperion with their XP1. I'll have a photo of that later, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. We also have a lot of other folks showing up as well, including Bayotech, which is our Power Up sponsor. And we're ever so grateful to our highest level sponsors, Chevron and Iwatani, who recently announced they're working on 30 stations they're going to be building here in California. So lots of good news, and we're bringing together lots of interesting kind of hydrogen participants this Wednesday. Have I forgotten anything, Ben or Dave, to tell them about Hydrogen Village? If you're in the Sacramento area, come on and join us. We're going to be there from 9 to 4. It should be really fun.
No, Keith, I think you covered it well.
Okay, cool. Let's go to, there we go.
So a couple of resources that I want to share with the group here. First is our station map, and then second is our Station Operational Status System, or SAS. And so I know if you've attended these webinars before, you may recognize these, but I think these are really beneficial resources that are extremely important. And so again, we want to reshare, especially for those that are new to the community, new drivers. The first, again, is our hydrogen station map. And so this can be found on our website, cafcp.org. /station map, or you can go to stations and then station map. This map allows you to see the stations that are currently open and available in California. You can also see stations that are in development, so stations that are currently in construction, in permitting, as well as those that are proposed to be developed. Using the filter here, you can show just the stations that are open and available. And so the latest update allows you to see in real time if the station is available or not. A green essentially means that's available, and online, red means that's offline. And then we also can have a legend at the top here. Clicking on the legend gives you a definition and describes what that current status is. Next is our resources page. So this page here, we have a list of documents that we post on here. The staff uses it, our members use it. It's great if you're looking for any reports. We also have a list of all of our hydrogen stations that are open and in development here that you can download as well. We also have links to other organizations, other resources that we think would be pertinent in regards to hydrogen and fuel cell. Next is our by the numbers page. And so Dave will talk a little more about the specific numbers, but I just wanted to share that, again, this page can be found, again, under resources by the numbers at the top. And we update this on a monthly basis. We're still waiting for the latest numbers for fuel cell vehicles sold and leased in the US. And so we'll get that updated likely this week. But again, the rest of the numbers are up to date. And so a great tool if you want to see a snapshot of where we are in California. Next is our upcoming events. And so again, under the resources tab, if you go to events, as Keith mentioned, we have our Hydrogen Village event happening on Wednesday. We also have some briefings that are happening tomorrow online. If you're interested in participating or attending those, you can register on this using this link. And also, if you have an event, your organization is hosting an event, or you know of an event that you think would be of interest, please submit that, and we will consider it for adding to this list as well.
Ben?
Yes, Keith?
I also wanted to add a lot of the stuff we talk about during this webinar, you can find on this website. And we'll try and make sure that as we're talking, we will, reference it to whatever part of the site we have it in.
Thanks, Keith. And then next is our news page. So again, under resources, news, if you're looking for the latest news on hydrogen fuel cell technology, this Keith Malone here curates all of the news, and you can filter by different categories: fuel cells, hydrogen stations, buses, trucks, and cars. And so I encourage you to take a look at this, the news page as well. And then last is our Station Operational Status System, or SAS. And so this can be found at m.cafcp.org. This site lets you know in real time if a station is available to use or not. And so I highly encourage you to check out the site if you're a current fuel cell vehicle owner or leaser. We have listed in alphabetical order, and you can also create an account to kind of change the way these lists are created. A green circle means that the station is currently online and available for you to use. A yellow triangle means that's in a limited state, meaning that you can get hydrogen, but you're not going to get a full fill. A red square means that it's currently offline, so that essentially means you won't be able to dispense hydrogen, you won't be able to get fuel. Refresh state means that the high buffer storage is out of hydrogen, and so you may need to wait. Typically, it's about 10 minutes before that station rebuffers and you're able to get hydrogen again. The last status is an unknown, and so what that means is essentially that we lost data connectivity with the station, and so we encourage them to call the station. You can call the customer service number, and they'll be able to give you a better idea of what the current status is. Also, the station developers will access the site and they'll add more information to the stations themselves. So if there is more information, there's an information icon that will be added to that station. Clicking on that station, that message will be at the top here in yellow. And again, station developers will add lots of information, whether it's offline or if there's planned maintenance happening within the next couple of days. If it's ran out of hydrogen, they'll often put when that station is going to get more hydrogen as well. Again, the customer service number is also listed on this page as well, and so you can, if we lose data connectivity, do call that number. Also, with SOS, you can sign up for an account, and so once you sign up, you can also sign up to get notifications in real time. If you go to My Account, so again, once you register for an account, log in, go to Station Notifications, and on here you can put in your phone number, what your carrier is, and then from there select whether you want a text message or an email when there's a change in status. And you can do this for each individual station. So ideally, probably you'll just want to be notified for the stations near you that you use. There were questions about what causes stations to go offline, and so typically stations are offline for a few different reasons. In the past, we've seen some supply issues, and Dave Park will talk a little more about some of these issues in a bit, and some of the progress that we've made. The other are mechanical issues. We've seen stations also become unavailable when there's construction at the site. So not typically due to the technology itself, but if there's sometimes they're repaving the parking lot or other reasons. And then all that information, again, is usually added to the top here, so you're familiar. Also, with this, with SOS, we transmit this data directly to other applications, such as the Toyota Intune app, the Honda Link app, as well as the Hyundai My Hyundai system, and the HiGo application. So we encourage you to use any of those applications, whichever ones works best for you. And then, of course, we also have the m.csp.org site here that has the information as well. And so with that, I'm going to pass it back to Dave to talk about the network. Dave?
Great. Thank you, Ben. And good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. Just want to say it's a pleasure to see all of you online. I see a lot of familiar faces in the attendee list, and just noting that this is a global topic. It's becoming much more important, and California really is on the forefront of this hydrogen economy. When we're looking at the California station network, what this chart displays is the growth of the network over time, and you'll see that the market launched in 2015. And today we're up to 52, soon to be 53 open retail stations in the network. I'll get to the specific station openings in the next slide, but you can see the clear growth line on the blue bars. And what's been very exciting for the partnership is that we've seen an acceleration of the rate of stations entering the marketplace. A quick note is that the primary source of funding has been the state of California through the CEC grant funding program. The last round of grant funds awarded to 3 applicants, First Element Fuel, Shell, and Iwatani. 123 stations were awarded, and of those 123 stations, 36 locations were the first batch to be targeted to be developed, at total award amount for that first batch of $50.7 million. And what we're seeing is in the orange bars in this chart that you're seeing that those next batch of stations that are in active development. Currently, there are 40 actively being developed, and then we have 11 additional stations in the queue. That's the yellow portion of the last bar. And that, as mentioned, everything within the development sphere is accelerating from the development time to the permitting time to the commissioning time. So we're very excited that we're on target to getting to our 2025 target of 200 stations. Currently, I believe we have in the queue approximately 175 stations, somewhere around that number. The other exciting development is what Ben mentioned earlier, in that we are seeing private stations being developed. So those are stations that are not funded through grant funding. And it appears that there are approximately 36 privately developed stations that are currently underway and in some form of development. And so with that, I'll move on to the next slide, please. Regarding the latest stations to open, we have, since the last broadcast, we have 5 stations that have opened up: Sherman Oaks, Costa Mesa Bristol, Baldwin Park, Hawaiian Gardens, and Orange. And you can see in the commissioning schedule, we have Cupertino, San Jose Bernal Road, San Jose Snell Ave, and Woodside. And then we have 4 stations that are currently unavailable: Ontario, Newport Beach, Berkeley, and San Francisco Harrison Street. I'm going to get into more details regarding the hydrogen distribution and supply topic, which is more on the wholesale side. But on the retail end, which is the focus of this slide, is that we are seeing with the supply issues mostly resolved, and we're seeing retail deliveries happening with more regularity, and we're seeing also the short fill issues because the network there is less stress to the existing stations due to 2 factors: more stations opening up, and then also the higher capacity multiple fueling position stations that are opening up. Those countermeasures appear to be working, and we have countermeasures in Southern California that have been largely implemented, and countermeasure teams are in Northern California and implementing countermeasures in the Northern California stations. So overall, we're seeing the station network again less stressed, and therefore it is generally more available to drivers, and I believe the driver network has experienced and expressed this. On the mechanical side, that's where we're seeing the majority of our performance issues now, and so the durability improvements across the retail network they continue to improve. Next slide, please. So this is a snapshot of, and Ben already covered this, but this is a snapshot of the current state of vehicles and stations across the state. There are 52 stations available. The fuel cell electric vehicle population is approaching 13,000, and we're seeing the emerging bus and truck market. So these are all very, very exciting developments. Next slide, please. On the supply and distribution side, again, this is a snapshot of why we're seeing the improvement in retail, or at least part of the solution to the retail network availability. And that is, we have new supply lines that have opened up in the last half of last year of 2021. We had a 30-ton per day production facility that came online in La Porte, Texas. And then we saw another 30-ton per day liquid hydrogen production facility in Ontario that came online. Especially with the local supply, that greatly improves the stability of the California hydrogen retail marketplace. What I'll point out is that we saw a major weather event occur in February of this year. It was a weather event that hit the Midwest and the South and hit the Gulf Coast region. In past years, such weather events would have caused major disruption to hydrogen supply chain into California or across the entire hydrogen marketplace. And with our local supplies points developing, that has stabilized the marketplace. What we're very excited to see is that there is the Air Liquide plant that is being developed in Nevada. We're expecting that plant to open up sometime this year. And therefore, when that plant comes online, that's going to add additional stability to the marketplace as the population of vehicles grow and then as that heavy duty market heats up. So generally, regarding supply, we're seeing on the retail side more stations that are publicly available. We're seeing more hydrogen delivery trucks entering the marketplace and more hubs, distribution hubs opening up. And then again, as mentioned previously, the higher capacity multiple fueling position stations are really taking stress off the marketplace and those original single dispenser stations. And then on top of that, we're seeing accelerated station growth, so faster station development time across the board in all aspects of station development. And what you'll see in the chart, that line chart at the bottom right corner, we see hydrogen station availability, and we saw that dip. We saw a dip in 2021, and during the supply chain disruptions that we were seeing, and then also the demand increasing due to the number of fuel cell electric vehicles entering the marketplace. But now we're seeing station availability since September, October of last year. We're seeing station availability increase, and that has benefited the entire marketplace. And I will hand it back to Keith. Keith, let's talk about cars.
Cars. Some of you have seen versions of this slide before in the past. As always, I've included at the very top the cars that are on the road here in California: the Honda Clarity, the Nexo, Toyota Mirai, the 2021 Toyota Mirai. And some of these other ones down below I've also mentioned in the past, but BMW, some of you, if you're out there watching what's going on globally, this year they're going to be rolling out a small number of vehicles in Germany. We're hoping we can woo them and lure them into the California market as soon as possible, once they've kind of shown what they can do on the German roads. River Simple, you've heard us talk about them in the past. They've got that cool little two-seater. This company is based out of Wales in the UK. They're also beginning to visit us here in California. We're looking forward to also seeing them at the Hydrogen Village this coming Wednesday. So we're hoping that bodes well for the Golden State because, one, they're cool. They're cool little cars. They've got a great, interesting design. I like to call it retro British futurism. Kind of a la the Avengers with John Steed and Emma Peel. And then down below, you've seen us talk about the Hyperion XP1 before. The XP1, that car is going to be on display at the Hydrogen Village alongside the other cars. So if you have a chance to join us, come by and take a look at it. And then in the lower right, that's a very dark photo, and I apologize because it's a super cool car. It's from the company Hopium. It's a startup company from French race car driver Olivier Lombard, very French name. And we recently had a chance to chat with them, with him personally, hear more about the company, and I hope we'll begin to see this company as well show up in California, not just Europe. So, but I think that conversation bodes well for us down the road. So, and also in the background, we've also got, you know, announcements we've seen in the past. I've talked about Stellantis with kind of a medium duty delivery van. Hyundai has also announced a delivery van as well. I'm hoping we're going to be seeing them here as well, because they'll be taking, eventually utilizing that light duty network as well until we start to see larger fleets. Then of course they'll go be behind the fence and all that kind of lovely stuff. I think that covers it. If we could go to the next slide. Trucks. So this, we're beginning to see a lot more activity with the heavy duty trucks. As you can see down below, I've listed a number of the truck manufacturers, many of whom are members of the partnership. Some of you may recall that when we started out 20 years ago, we were very much light duty focused, about 5-6 years ago. And we also included buses in that, in kind of our scope of work. 5 to 6 years ago, at our members' request, we began to focus more on heavy duty vehicles, especially heavy duty trucks. So a lot's going on. As I mentioned before, Hyzon just delivered its first truck down into the LA and Long Beach ports area. Kenworth already has trucks down there. I believe, as I recall, Nikola has also delivered 2 fuel cell trucks here. We've heard Hino, they're bringing, they've got some early trucks that they're going to be rolling out soon, as well as hearing about grants coming in from DOE for Kenworth, as well as Daimler Truck North America. So a lot of early activity in this market. In addition, NREL just came out with a study looking at using a cost analysis and saying we're going to see heavy duty trucks, zero emission heavy duty trucks by around 2030, 2035, cost less than diesel trucks. So that's a really good harbinger of what's to come. Oregon's Department of Environmental Quality did a survey of about 200 fleets in the state, and that's worth taking a look at. What it really came out for them was it was clear that there need to be more incentives. They need to be delivering more of those in order to incentivize the acquisition of zero emission vehicles. And as we've said before, on our resources database, both of these reports are there. They're easy to find. Just look them up, you know, simple word searches, and you can, yeah, and you'll really enjoy seeing them. I think they're really interesting to read. Next, my endorsement of reports. There we go. On the bus front, more and more interesting. You've heard us talk before about the AC Transit study, oftentimes referred to casually as the 5x5 study. They're working with Stanford's Precourt Institute. They're looking at 5 different categories of buses, 5 buses in each category. So they're evaluating really the main buses are New Flyer fuel cell. They're new fuel cell buses from New Flyer, along with battery electric buses from New Flyer. So they're the same model, just different drivetrains. In addition, they've added in 5 of their legacy fuel cell buses that Van Hool made, as well as hybrid diesel and convention diesel buses. These are a series of ongoing reports or volumes. Again, they're on the resources database. It's worth looking at. This is a really, this study has global implications. California, as always, I mean, I often joke that we are the down payment on everybody else's clean air in the United States, if not North America. And this is one of those examples. We have transit agencies that are leaders in zero emission buses, both battery and fuel cell. Then on the right, I do now kind of a biannual bus census. It used to be California. Now that we're getting ready to go national soon, I've expanded it nationally. But here's the list here in California. I've also, I'm listing are transit agencies that either have buses on the ground or they've got buses in the purchase pipeline, meaning either they've gotten a grant or they've already made a purchase agreement. I've also added in a new one, Montebello Transit, because they recently mentioned on a public hearing that they are going to be purchasing fuel cell buses. So that means 2 agencies now in Los Angeles County, in the San Gabriel Valley. It's a really good sign for fuel cell technologies. And what we're really finding in all of these is a mix. You know, just if you look at our membership, many of our members work both pathways, and embedded in our organizational DNA is a recognition you need both technologies to get to that zero emission future, no matter the category, light duty, heavy duty, medium duty, and even those in even off-road and other categories as well. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to give you some quick updates about California, the US, and the United States. We've got Heliogen, a company that came out of Idea Labs in Pasadena. They've been operating a demonstration site in the city of Lancaster, the first city in the US to declare itself a hydrogen city. They just made an announcement with Woodside Energy, a new member partnership. Woodside is based out of Australia. They're already starting to enter the US market. They've even talked about projects in Oklahoma and other places, but they just signed an agreement late last year, and now they've announced they're going to be working on a demonstration project up in the Mojave Desert. So all of these desert areas, they're kind of north of Los Angeles County and Riverside, San Bernardino counties. All these high desert areas start to become really interesting opportunities for kind of mini hubs, or some might even call them clusters. And then the next slide, when I talk about hydrogen hubs, remember that at the moment, there's not really good definitions of what those are. Our colleagues, counterparts in Europe are referring to those kinds of things as hydrogen valleys. So I think over time, in the next couple of years, you're going to see probably firmer definitions. And it's going to be interesting to see how they are defined. Right now, but that said, I've put out a list of what I think are potential mini hubs here in California. Some are likely. Lancaster has already declared itself. The Shasta region, we just welcomed Shasta Regional Transportation Agency. That area is really looking at, they've got low electricity rates, they've got land, they've got wood mass available, and also remember Redding is up in that area, and that is a key launching point for getting into the Pacific Northwest transportation-wise. So we're going to see, I think, a lot more coming from them. In the Central Sierras, we're already talking with people. Tuolumne County has a dam. They've got biomass, deadwood, lots of opportunities to make hydrogen. Coachella Valley Sunline Transit's been talking about a mini hub there. The Redwood Coast up by Humboldt, they are a key site for offshore wind. So lots of interesting opportunities here and there for these mini hubs. Right below that, California and Japan just signed a memorandum of cooperation, and the word hydrogen is littered throughout that agreement. Again, that is on our resources database, so check that out. And I've also included a photo of the sea change. Some of you may remember this is going to be the world's first commercial hydrogen fuel cell ferry. It's going to be the first hydrogen ferry here in North America. Some of you may recall it used to be called the Water Go Round. I like the new name, Sea Change. They couldn't have done it without a lot of support from CARB, California iBank, NorCal FDC. This project was really birthed by Zero Emission Industries, which used to be called Golden Gate Zero Emission Marine. A lot of companies we're seeing as an example of Zero Emission Industries are evolving their names because the hydrogen world is expanding. So it's no surprise. Let's go to the next slide. And Ben?
Keith, there was a question about the sea change ferry. Is that ferry operational now?
It is not yet. And believe me, when it is, we will let you know. We're really excited to see it. It's a big deal. I mean, lots of stuff's happening here in California. We've got rail projects. We have marine projects. Remember, also there's that research vessel for Scripps Institute of Oceanography down in San Diego as well. There's lots of these projects going on here in this state. So the next big deal, especially here for California, is hydrogen hubs, and I'm going to talk about it in a very official way. The DOE hydrogen Earthshot. Many of you are very much aware that they just kind of released an RFI seeking. They've released a series of RFIs asking for input about how are they going to fund at least 4, potentially 6 to 10 hydrogen hubs here and across the country. And I probably shouldn't call it this, but the gold rush is on. And because of this, you have a lot of states that are looking to host hydrogen hubs. California, Texas. We're now beginning to see coalitions of states, and these are being led by their governors. Even if it's just in name only, that means that state governments are backing these efforts and working to bring together coalitions. I mean, we have, and if you'd seen the slide I was working on earlier, I was working on these kind of alphabets of states, CA, TX, all of those postal acronyms for all of these states, and I couldn't make it work visually, so I just included these headlines. Here in California, the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development is working with a variety of hydrogen hub potential applicants, working with them, seeing where we can collaborate, both GoBiz, the partnership, where we can help. The partnership, we've been trying to track all of these hydrogen hub efforts here and across the country, helping where we can. Remember, we've got a diversity of members. They are not just California focused. And as we go national, we really want to make sure that we can help everyone. I would also add, on our resources database, very fascinating hearing by the State Senate Select Committee on Hydrogen Energy that happened on Friday, March 25th. Great hearing, went on for about 2.5 hours. Very informative. I encourage you to take a look at it if you hadn't had a chance. Very informative about all the various efforts that are going on here and in California. Next slide, Ben. Here in the US, there's a lot going on. And on the left, Katie Porter, congressional representative Katie Porter out of the Irvine area, recently released legislation, the Hydrogen for Trucks Act. Take a look at that. Really meant to kind of move the heavy-duty realm along. I've included kind of a snippet, and it's on our website in the news section, about GM talking about their Hydrotec fuel cells. And on the right, I've included photos from a reporter, automotive reporter, who recently went out to look at GM's EV Hummer. But what's really interesting, if you look in those photos, that EV Hummer is being charged with fuel cells and hydrogen. And those fuel cells are GM's fuel cells. So I'm sure all of you are finding that one very fascinating. A lot of the automakers are looking at fuel cells not only across vehicle categories, but as stationary power units too. Down below, Honda just announced they're going to be powering their data center at their US headquarters down in Torrance, California, with fuel cells from their Honda Clarity. And also to kind of tie this together, remember GM and Honda have a technology sharing agreement when it comes to fuel cell technology. So trying to bring that all, looping it all together. So lots going on nationally, and I haven't included a lot of this stuff. As most of you already know, what's happening globally. The acceleration in hydrogen has just been phenomenal. We'll talk about that further in a moment. I just want to do a shout out to all of my colleagues globally via Twitter and LinkedIn who also help keep me informed. When I started here 10 years ago, really easy to keep up with hydrogen activities. About 3 years ago, it became impossible. So unless you're doing this full time, it is a hellacious, it's like drinking from a fire hose or maybe even a garden hose with a high pressure nozzle. So next slide. And Ben and Dave, let me know if I've left something out. Globally, really, as you remember, we really thought 2020 was going to be a great year. Then COVID hit. Then the stimulus packages came about and everyone started to focus on the energy transition. In Europe, especially, hydrogen became a key cornerstone of those transition efforts, which certainly I think really got the US to get moving, as you can see now with the hydrogen hub efforts. But the invasion of Ukraine has really brought home to Europe. They need to wean themselves off of Russian natural gas. Hydrogen is one of those ways. So even further acceleration. So for those of you who think you can't keep up, get ready. It's going to be even faster. That said, on the right-hand side, I included a news clip about Siemens Energy talking about building a multi-gigawatt hydrogen electrolyzer factory in Berlin. They're not the only ones. Our members, ITM Power, Nel Hydrogen, have also been scaling up at their factories. Again, the race is on, and especially when it comes to renewable hydrogen and renewable hydrogen production, not only here in the US, but across the globe. Next slide, please. As I've said, this is the last page of our near last page of our slide. We've included links to some of the documents we've mentioned, but again, like I've said, go to the news page, you can go to the resources database, you can go to the station map and other places. A lot of the information we talked about, and even the events page. There's a lot of great events coming up here in California and beyond. Really good opportunities to learn more about hydrogen and network. And with that, I will stop talking.
Awesome. Thank you, Keith. So we see a lot of questions coming in from the chat or from in the questions box, and thanks for all the questions. Keith, I'm going to ask you, start with one, question regarding the Hydrogen Village. The question is it open to the public, and how do I get involved?
Absolutely. It's open to the public. It's Wednesday. It's 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the west side of the state capitol in Sacramento. Thank you, Ben, for going to those pages. And yet tomorrow we have another series of briefings that Ben just showed you a second ago. Easy to sign up for. We've got some great subject matter experts there, as well as that. Sorry, Ben, I keep making you toggle between events. But even at the Hydrogen Village, lots of subject matter experts. I didn't mention we've got tube trailers as well. Air Liquide is bringing their liquid hydrogen trailer. Our colleagues at Hexagon are bringing gaseous tube trailers. I know that sounds really unsexy, but they're really important. And anyone who's been to hydrogen stations and needs to be refueled knows these are critical elements of the delivery system. So
absolutely. And so if you go to the CAFCP, California Fuel Cell Partnership, cafcp.org, you will see a button, a link directly to where you can register to the Hydrogen Village events. So please go ahead and join that. And absolutely, the panel sessions tomorrow are all virtual and online. And then for the Wednesday Hydrogen Village Day in Sacramento at the state capitol, that is all open to the public. And please, we encourage everyone, one and all, to register and join us.
And when you show up, wear light clothing. It's going to be a really warm day, high 80s. Wear a hat, sunscreen. Be safe. Have fun.
Excellent. Thank you, Keith. I'm going to hit some of the easier questions. There were several questions regarding the number of vehicles in the state. The one question is, how many vehicles are in California? It's fairly safe to say that the majority of vehicles that are listed are in California, the 12,700 vehicles, and that is a factor of where can I find hydrogen fuel, and the only open retail network in the US exists in California. Stations have been developed in other portions of the country, but they are not yet open for retail. And then I see another question regarding countermeasures, so I'm going to go a little deeper on that. The question is, what are the countermeasures that we allude to? And so I'm going to start from the top, just starting with production and going through the whole supply chain vertically, from production to retail dispensing. On the production side, we're seeing, as mentioned, we've seen new supply points open up. I mentioned the facilities in La Porte, Texas. In fact, in La Porte, Texas, there are 2 new facilities in La Porte, Texas. So I believe those are both 30 ton per day, 30 or more ton per day production facilities. And then more locally in Ontario, we have another 30 ton per day liquid hydrogen production facility. And so we don't have to transport that hydrogen into the state. And that, by having local production, that alleviates some of that supply chain bottleneck. What we saw during COVID and during some of those massive weather disruption events was not just plant downtime, but the availability of trucking. Especially during COVID, we saw a decrease in overall the entire logistics system for all goods. We saw the number of trucks, well, mainly driver availability plummeted. So having local distribution or local production, or production more local to California, alleviates some of those transport bottleneck issues. And then on the actual distribution side, getting hydrogen to the retail stations requires distribution hubs. We're seeing distribution hubs being developed. We're seeing new partnerships form within the marketplace. And then getting down to distribution from the distribution hubs to the retail stations, that requires specialized trailer transport. We've seen a new entrant into that marketplace. We're seeing more hydrogen delivery trailers produced and brought into the marketplace. So that's alleviating that bottleneck. And then on the supply side, as I mentioned, there are the multiple fueling position dispensing stations. The newer stations that are coming online, they typically have 4 dispensing points, and then they have their higher storage capacity. So they bring liquid hydrogen in, so they have a higher volume of hydrogen stored on site, and therefore fewer deliveries are required, and therefore that fuel is more available. Finally, where we are working, or the industry, I should say, is working actively to improve, are the mechanical challenges at the stations. And as I understand, the station developers have agreements with their parts suppliers to begin fabrication of their own components within the station, so that those parts are more available, and so they don't have to wait for instance, parts coming in from other parts of the world, such as Europe. So with local ability to fabricate broken parts, that cuts back the downtime of the stations. Hopefully that is a good overview. and we'll be happy to discuss. You know, if as we showed, we have our contact information. Feel free to connect with me if you have additional questions. Ben, what other interesting questions have you seen in the come in the chat?
So I'll respond to some of the questions related to SOS, the Station Operational Status System. And so as far as improvements to the system, there are some questions about being able to provide feedback from the customers. We understand that especially some of the newer stations or newer station developers, when they come to the system, there's kind of a learning curve to make sure that the data is coming in accurately, and that's primarily our role here at the partnership, is to make sure that the data is as accurate as possible so that you see in real time what's happening at the station. But again, we understand that sometimes that is off. So we encourage customers to contact us directly if there is any discrepancies with data. We're working on building an update to SOS. That way you can send feedback and comments and let other customers know if there's inaccuracies with the data in real time. And so again, we acknowledge that, and we're working to get that available to you in the next rollout of SOS here. Other SOS related questions regarding multiple position stations. So typically if one of the nozzles or one of the positions is unavailable, as long as one is still working, we'll show the station as online. Typically, the station developers will add a note to SOS if only one position is offline, or if there's something that they can share. But for the most part, what SOS will indicate to you is whether it's available or not. So again, as long as one of the positions is available and you can get a version, it's going to show as a green available online status. There are a number of questions related to progress and status of individual stations. Again, I encourage you to take a look at our hydrogen stations list. Fortunately, that has all of the information that we have, especially in the early stages of development. And I don't know, Dave, if you want to touch on that a little bit. There are questions about commissioning. Just if you want to touch on in general about the timeline and how long it takes to develop a station.
Sure. I'm going to start from the top, actually, because there are a number of questions regarding station development. And first of all, just getting back to the station map that we have. If you go to Google, probably the easiest way is to Google CAFCP station map, and you'll get to this page. And this page has a menu of, if you click on that menu bar, you can see you can select as many or as few categories as you'd like, but you can see how many stations are in active development. And so I see a lot of folks are interested in how many stations are actively being developed, and you can click on those. You can click on the various points in the development process, so you can see exactly where those developing stations are being, what state they're in. Let's see, regarding the development time, at the earlier stations that were developed in the new market, and so the Energy Commission started awarding grant funds in about the 2012 timeframe, and those initial rounds of funding, those stations took somewhere on the order of 18 months to 2 years to develop. That included some permitting time and other points in that development process. We are compressing that development time. It went from 2 years to 18 months to 15 months, to the point where we're compressing it down to about 12 months. It really, every location is different in that there are different levels of understanding within the jurisdictions where those stations are being developed. And so in the newer jurisdictions, there's a fair amount of hand-holding that needs to go on between the jurisdiction in charge of permitting in those areas. The partnership, we are here to facilitate, our staff are here to facilitate the education of those permitting officials so that we can cut some of that time down to get understanding across the various departments within those jurisdictions. And then also cost. Cost has also been going down. So again, we're seeing acceleration across all the aspects of station development. Ben, is there anything additional to that question that I need to address?
No, I think you covered it. Thanks, Dave.
Let's see, getting back into the questions, I see a question about how do we join the partnership. I would encourage anyone interested in membership to contact Keith. Send Keith an email indicating interest, and he will get back to you, and you can start that conversation.
And then I also showed on the screen here under members. If you click on members at the bottom, there's a join, and it'll list our program plan as well as our level of membership. And feel free to send an email to Keith directly or also to our info at, and this page here gives you kind of what information we're looking for consideration to get information. There was a question, and I want to also share with you a dashboard that was produced by the California Energy Commission, and it shows vehicle population as well. And so this one, it's a great dashboard. If you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you, again, you check it out. They have numbers for up to 2020. And so there's a slight difference in what we're showing because our numbers are currently showing up to March of 2022 here. But again, great resource, and you can also filter it for 2021 as well, I believe. So again, just another great tool for you to use if you're looking at metrics.
Ben, I also saw some questions about station locations in the questions leading up to the webinar. Do you want us to address those?
I can speak to that. So we mentioned the map, and that map shows the actively developed or stations that are actively in development. We also published a letter. It's the California Fuel Cell Partnership OEM Priority Station Location Recommendations letter. And that letter identifies the priority or the markets where the fuel cell electric vehicle manufacturers, which right now are Toyota, Hyundai, and Honda. Those are the through a blind process, the partnership pulls together market information from those vehicle manufacturers, and we identify the markets in which the three manufacturers are collectively interested in seeing developed. I know that there have been many inquiries regarding, for instance, connector stations between Northern and Southern California. Certainly, that is a topic that we need to discuss as the partnership and see how we can get better density, because honestly, that there is just that one station in Coalinga that connects the two parts of the state. That certainly needs to be reinforced. The other market that needs to be reinforced is Sacramento. There are 3 stations in Sacramento. We saw a disruption in the Sacramento region. Collectively, we are working on measures to bring more hydrogen into those markets so that disruptions like that are less severe. And then we are also seeing the San Diego market. That's another targeted market that is still really in its infancy, and we are receiving quite a bit of inquiries regarding development in the San Diego market, and certainly we're looking forward to at least one more station entering that marketplace. But you'll see that is another market that the vehicle manufacturers have identified as a priority. We haven't seen development on the connector on a Las Vegas station that's outside of California, but those conversations were active. There was an indication that Las Vegas might be interested in hydrogen marketplace, but then that would require a connector between somewhere on that route between Los Angeles and Las Vegas to make that connection. Yeah, Barstow and Victorville. So so it's really TBD. We haven't seen, as the staff of the partnership, we're not certain where that development, where the developers are on those locations.
I'll also add San Luis Obispo is another one that we get more comments about that location. I'll tell you, we certainly want to see it. Automakers certainly want to see one. If you look at this list, and remember, there are 71 station locations that haven't been named yet. So I think there's a lot of reasons why we'll see one there eventually. And we hear you. Just because something doesn't happen doesn't mean we're not listening, and it doesn't mean we're not sharing it with our members. Believe me, we share. You all give us feedback. We hear it. It's not being dismissed. It is, and we are sharing it where we can. And yeah, so if you notice that I'm a little frustrated, I have family in San Luis Obispo. I want a station there. So you have for those of you who want San Luis Obispo, shh, we're good. It'll happen. Just some things are beyond our control.
So I see, just regarding the stations specifically, the question is, what's the difference between H70 and H35 at the pumps? You'll see that, especially the older pumps have both H35 and H70. The number refers to the pressure at which the hydrogen is dispensed. So it's 35 bar and 70 bar. 70 bar being a higher pressure fill. You'll see also that the newer stations are trending towards only including H70 dispensers, and that's because the fuel cell electric automobiles are designed to take H70 fills. If you fill with H35, you'll only get about a half a tank of hydrogen. But with an H70 nozzle, you will get a full fill of hydrogen as long as that station is operating properly.
So Dave, Keith, we're about 5 minutes over time, and so I want to be respectful of everyone's time, and I see that there are a number of attendees dropping off already. And so with that, I just wanted to point out again to all the attendees that this webinar is being recorded. We will post this recording as soon as possible, likely at the end of this week or early next week. Also, again, I want to encourage everyone to join tomorrow's webinars. We have our Hydrogen Village panels. And so again, there will be lots of great content covered by the industry experts themselves. And so again, encourage you to attend one of those, as well as our Hydrogen Village on Wednesday at State Capitol. All of that information can be found on our website. Again, I understand there are a number of questions that are still outstanding. And so please, if you have any question that we didn't cover today, feel free to shoot us an email, and we'll work on getting those responses to you. Dave and Keith.
Ben, I'm going to close with just one point, and I'm seeing a question that popped up. Should we as drivers be concerned over the recent talks of reallocating funding from light duty to heavy duty stations? I think that the drivers have the power to contact their legislators and say, we need to continue to develop the light duty fueling network. The light duty fueling network needs to be established. The heavy duty fueling network needs to be established. They should not be combined. The focus should be placed on each of those spheres individually, because each of those vehicle classes are completely different beasts, and we need to keep pressure on the light duty station if the state's going to continue to work towards off-ramping from petroleum as quickly as possible.
Dave, I'll add in, if you need help finding your legislators, get in touch with me. It's not that hard, and you don't have to be a subject matter expert. Tell your legislators, use your words, hydrogen and fuel cells, and tell them, if you drive a fuel cell car, let them know, I drive a fuel cell car, I'm a constituent, here's my address, I want you to do more. That's all you need to say. And remember, it's to get mildly political, it's an election year.
All right. Well, thank
They
you,
remember
Ben.
extra special during these times of year.
All right, well, thank you again to both Keith and Dave for being panelists today, and thank you to all of our attendees for joining. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our emails are shown on the screen there. Thank you, everyone.